Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and for the last week I've been driving the 2026 Toyota Land Cruiser 1958. Up front is a 2.4 liter turbocharged inline-4 as well as a hybrid system, and down below is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be making this video here today because I've spent the last week driving and honestly really enjoying the Toyota Land Cruiser, and I'm excited to share with you why that is. But we're also going to be drawing a comparison between this and the Toyota 4Runner, which shares a powertrain, shares a size, shares a market segment, and figure out which one is truly the better vehicle for you. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 2.4 liter turbo as well as a hybrid system under the hood. Well, that is Toyota's Hybrid Max system, which means maximum power, not maximum fuel economy. That maximum power number is 326 horsepower, which definitely doesn't make the Land Cruiser a slouch. I have truly enjoyed driving this around. It has plenty of power anywhere you need it, even though it is just a little 4-cylinder. Now, reflectively, that little 4-cylinder ain't doing great numbers. I've averaged 19.6 miles to the gallon. Not great. However, I will say I've probably been driving it at a quicker pace than most Land Cruiser owners would, so I would fully expect a couple mpg more out of a normal non-lead-footed human being rather than myself. Now, like I said, paired to it is an 8-speed automatic. It's great, it works well, and I think it's wonderful, especially because most Toyota hybrid systems are paired to some type of CVT or eCVT, and like the Camry and Corolla and things like that. This is a tried and true 8-speed, and I like that a lot. Last but not least, the Land Cruiser is of course 4-wheel drive. That's the only way it's available, and we'll talk about how to select that a little bit later on. How does it feel to drive the Land Cruiser? Well, the ride is actually tolerable. That is a huge benefit to this off-roader. The Land Cruiser has some serious off-road chops with the locking diffs and things like that. This is a very off-road capable vehicle, but it doesn't ride like a covered wagon on the streets like you would expect out of a Bronco or a Wrangler. So if you're going to daily drive something with a little bit of off-road prowess, this is your option. Now, you are going to pay a little bit more for that. We'll talk about that later on as well with the price. But ride quality is good. Visibility is fine enough. And the power is most certainly there. If you're worried about the power of a 4-cylinder, don't. If you're looking forward to the MPGs of a 4-cylinder, also don't. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me I have a digital gauge cluster. I've said this in all my Toyota reviews. I think this is a little bit busy. There's a lot to look at, a lot of different colors to look at. However, it's like one big single gauge here in the Land Cruiser, so it's a lot better to look at than like the Grand Highlander or Camry or things like that, so I like it enough. On the steering wheel on the left, we do have our selectors for that gauge cluster screen, as well as phone options, volume, and voice commands. And off to the right, we have our adaptive cruise, as well as skip track and mode. I like this spelled out Toyota badge on the steering wheel. I think the steering wheel is very handsome. And moving off to the left, we do have a climate control vent. We have our automatic high beams, rear parking sensors on and off, gauge dimmer switch, AC 120 volt outlet on and off, gas cap release, our trailer brake adjustments, and our hood popper all the way down at the bottom. Moving on to the door, we have the latch to get in and out, power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. Moving into the center, we get our infotainment display. This does have wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. This is the smaller infotainment. I will show the larger optional infotainment here. This is the larger version if you get a higher trim level. The 1958 is actually a somewhat low trim level. So this is what we're dealing with here today. I can't say it's wonderful, but it works, and I guess that's all I really need it to do. Down below that, we have 2 climate control vents and the hazard switch, and our climate controls, dual zone climate, very tactile buttons. I really like this feature. Fan speed, heated steering wheel, and heated seats. Again, nice to see, but also at $65,000, I would expect nothing less. Down below that, we have 2 dead switches. Kind of annoying to see, but we do have 3 USB-Cs, a cubby that would be a wireless charger on higher trims, but is not here in the 1958. And off to the left, we have some mode select. So we have Sport, Normal, and Eco. We can also have second gear be our first gear for better snow or low traction starts, and we have our DAC and crawl button. We have the shifter, pretty standard Toyota shifter, nothing really new here. Power parking brake and auto holding brake next to that. And then we have our fun four-wheel drive settings. So traction control off, it's not really four-wheel drive related, but we have our center locking diff as well as rear locking diff, and we can leave it in 4 high or 4 low. There's actually no two-wheel drive dedicated mode here in the Land Cruiser. Off to the right, we do have cup holders. We'll do a big freaking bottle test, and it fails as it has in the past. And we do get a center console. Now, again, in upper trim levels, you can option a cool box, which isn't a refrigerator, but it pumps AC into this box and will keep your drinks cold, which is very nice, but again, not here in the 1958 edition. The seats are cloth, they are comfortable, and they look good. I actually really enjoy these seats, almost more than the leather seats. I just like the look of them. They're very nostalgic. They really remind me of like 90s Toyota, which I have always enjoyed, so I like them here in the 1958. I've done almost 300 miles in this vehicle, and my back hasn't hurt. The heat has been very nice, and overall, I'm a big fan of them. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, getting in the back of the Toyota Land Cruiser, they give you these like kind of steps. These are awful. They are not really steps. They're really rock sliders, but everyone thinks that they're steps and tries to use them. That doesn't work out super well. Coming into the back here, close this up. We do get our own climate controls back here. Absolutely love that. We get a 12-volt outlet as well as 2 USB-Cs. Also great features to have. And again, that same 90s style material carries on back here, and I love it. I love it. This is such great material. Some people might say it looks or feels cheap. I personally really enjoy it. We do get a center console as well, 2 cup holders found down there, and I fit well. 5'11", not a small guy. I fit back here pretty happily, pretty happy with the space given, and so there we go. This is a nice place to be. And honestly, again, comparing to the 4Runner, which we'll talk a lot more about here in a second, it's pretty on par with one another. I mean, I'm just as comfortable in the back of this as I am the 4Runner. Let's hop out and take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. Before we actually do that, I did forget to mention, this does have a factory catback exhaust. I believe it's the Sport exhaust or TRD exhaust. I'll put the option right up here on the screen. So it does sound a little bit raspier than normally. I forgot to mention that with the performance portion of the video. If you heard it in the intro, it does sound a little bit nicer. So very cool. Once we are around the back here, we do have a button right here to open up the rear glass. Absolutely love this. This, to me, should be like the standard on every SUV. It's not, but in my opinion, it should be. So very nice. This was actually super helpful because I had a big tote back here and it had slid all the way towards the back of the tailgate. And so I was able to lift it up through here because if I had just opened the tailgate, it would have just rolled right out. So very nice. If you have pets, they won't jump out, things like that. Coming down here, however, it is a manual tailgate. It is not a power tailgate, which at $65,000 would have liked a power tailgate. But coming around back here, we do have our headrests. For some reason, they were put back here. We have some privacy covers, which is very nice. And this is where you'll find the wall outlet. So very nice to see that as well. We can lift this up. We do have some storage down there as well. Again, no power tailgate. Would have really liked a power tailgate. Again, for $65,000. I feel like you should get that, but you don't here in the 1958 trim level of the Land Cruiser. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this has the 1958 retro round headlight front end. This is my preferred front end. However, you can find them from the factory with rectangular headlights. So this is the rectangular headlight front end. This is the circular headlight front end. You get to make that decision, which is really really cool of them to do. But overall, I like the look of it. This is finished in Meteor Shower. It's fine. I like the overall look of it, but I will say 2 people came up to me and asked what this was. One thought it was the new Jeep Cherokee, and one thought it was the new Ford Bronco. I assume because of the round headlights. So, it's not very Land Cruiser-y, or at least to non-car people, they don't really know what it is, which is kind of interesting, especially when we get into my final thoughts segment about differentiating this from the Toyota 4Runner. So, let's get into it. Let's get into my final thoughts. What do I think driving the Toyota Land Cruiser for the last week? Well, I really like the Land Cruiser. I was excited to get back behind the wheel. It's been over a year since I've driven one. When they debuted in 2024, I did a review of both the 1958 and the higher trim. I forget what trim level that was, but that had all the bells and whistles and leather and all that blah, blah, blah. I liked it then. I liked it now. I still really enjoy driving the Land Cruiser. I think it does on-road really well. It does off-road really well. Overall, it's just a good car. But Toyota has a problem, and that problem is the 4Runner. The Toyota 4Runner, which was also redesigned last year, occupies pretty much the same space as this Land Cruiser. It's a 4-wheel drive SUV, mainly a 2-row, but the 4Runner does have an optional 3rd row at the base model, or at least I saw it in a base model. I don't really remember which trims it's available on, but you can get a 3rd row in a 4Runner in 2026. Can't get that here in the Land Cruiser, but same powertrain, 2.4 liter turbo hybrid. You can get the hybrid max on the 4Runner as well as here in the Land Cruiser, and the 4Runner does all of that for usually around 10 grand cheaper. It starts 10 grand cheaper than the Land Cruiser, and this being at $65,000, you could get a really nice spec of a TRD off-road 4Runner for the same price. So why does Toyota sell both, and how do you differentiate them? What is my opinion on buying one? Which one would I take home with me? Well, the honest answer is that I prefer the Land Cruiser, and I don't have an answer as to why. I like the look of the Land Cruiser. I think the round headlights, honestly sell me on it. I like saying I'm driving a Land Cruiser, because telling people you're driving a 4Runner, that's an old SUV, blah, blah, blah. When you tell people you drive a Land Cruiser, it's just something a little bit more special. Now, is that 10 grand more special? Is that 10 grand worth it? I don't know. If you want to make the logical decision, go buy the 4Runner. You are going to get more for your money from the 4Runner vehicle than you will in the Land Cruiser. It's just a fact. You are going to get more bang for your buck with the 4Runner than you would in a Land Cruiser. But I just like the Land Cruiser. My wallet says 4Runner, but my heart says Land Cruiser. And that's just it. That's why you buy a Land Cruiser over a 4Runner, is because you just like it better. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with making a purchase based off of something that you just enjoy more. And sometimes peace of mind, sometimes personal happiness will trump whatever your wallet is saying. Am I saying you should take out a second mortgage so you could be able to afford this? No, not at all. But if it's something that you really want, you should go get it. And if I were in this position, I would buy the Land Cruiser. Even though I know I'm getting a worse deal, I just like it. I just like it. I hope you guys liked the video. Huge thank you to Toyota for letting me borrow their Land Cruiser for the last week. Huge thank you to Drive Shop for facilitating the cleaning and delivery of this vehicle. And of course, the Midwest Automotive Media Association. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.